we know that these teachable moments, we feel like we have to be the teachable moments, but what if we just provide those conditions, we provide those materials, and then as we step back, we know that we let the universe teach. Hi, this is Rusty Keeler, and you're listening to the Play Nature Podcast, where we talk about play, nature, playing in nature, and the nature of play. I'm glad you're here. Let's have a listen. All right. Hello. Welcome back to the Play Nature Podcast. I'm going to just jump right into it here. I'm going to share today with you, I don't even know how to describe this. It's an aha moment. Like one of these that has to do with play. An aha moment that is like changed everything for me. And it's something that I have a feeling I'm going to be unpacking maybe for the rest of my life. As I think about play. We're people who think about play a lot. And this is kind of under the heading of the nature of play. So I had this flash this fall, and I just saw things in a new way. And today's podcast is going to be me trying to explain it, trying to put it into words, this flash, and to see then what it means for us who love play and support play. And okay. So anyway, and how that we can continue our practice, basically, of loving play and supporting play. But let me get there. Okay, so that's what we're going to get to here. And just kind of the background, here I am at the creek again, a solo episode. And now it's winter in Ithaca again, and it's been frigid, which is great. And we've had lots of good ice. I've been freezing water in water balloons and all sorts of plastic bins and buckets and things. So having lots of fun making sculpture and stuff. Are you doing that too? And then here at the creek is having fun freezing water also. So there's lots of good ice on the edges. And it hasn't formed all the way across, but it's going to get down to single digits for like the next week here. So we'll probably have some even grander ice. But right now there's some nice ice. And we may even hear crunching. As I was sitting here getting ready, I heard some crunching going on every now and then with the ice. So listen for that. Oh, there, I just heard one. Okay, so here it is. It's January 2026, and I must admit that I've been feeling a little down. I've been feeling a little sad. World events, domestic events, leadership, and I think for me it was kind of like this Greenland, seeing people in Greenland concerned and scared, and like these native folks. They look like native folks from northern Canada, northern Alaska, and suddenly they have all these concerns, and it kind of made me sad. But, I don't know about you, but I've been trying to stay positive and try not to get knocked off my foundation and what I believe in. And part of that is like, there's a lot of things that we can't do in the world that we don't have effect on. We have no control over, but we have control over ourselves and our community and the people we work with, the children we work with, our own children, and that we still have the light within us and we can shine that out. We can be a loving presence in the world, and that makes a difference. That does make a difference. And so we think about what brings us joy and, how can we be ambassadors of love and compassion. And I'm sure you're doing it with your work with children or your own children. And I guess that's our domain, our sphere of influence. So I'm glad you're with me now as we're making our way in the world, and I'm glad we're together, and we got to stick together, right? We believers in play and believers in the light of the world. And so, this is our community. Right now it's our podcast community, and it's nice to know I'm not alone. And I hope it's nice for you to know that you are not alone too. Whoa. Hear that ice cracking? I'm not on the ice, don't worry. I'm next to it. Yeah. So it's good to know that we're in community, and I want to build that up, especially this year. I think we need that. So I'll talk more about that later. But that's it. It's like play. Believers in play. We are believers in play. We're believers in childhood. We're believers in being outdoors. You are a believer in children being outdoors, and you believe that it's important to have freedom. Children have freedom and nature, mess, mud kitchens, time, space, materials, loose parts, the real stuff. And if you're like me, you're a believer so much that play for play's sake is good enough. That's what I always say. Play, you don't have to try to prove it to me anymore. I'm a believer. It's nice that there's research happening now. I mean, I feel like in the last decade especially, there's been so much research that is pointing to the importance of play and free play and loose parts and risky play and connections to nature in children's lives for their growth and development, physically, socially, emotionally, intellectually. So the research is there. And we also know that play checks all the boxes, right? In the adult world, the adult mind, it checks all the boxes. Play can be math. It can be science. It can STEM, pre-literacy, social, emotional, all that stuff. That's one of the beautiful things about play. It can check all those boxes. It can fit into any of those, priorities that adults have and adult systems or learning systems have. And that's great. But whether it's those boxes labeling play as math and science, or the research that is looking at, brain development, or looking at, social, emotional development, all that stuff is great. I'm glad it's happening, and I'm glad that we can put words to it. But really, all those things are limited. All those ideas are limited ideas when it comes to the broad, expansive reality that play actually is, and the role that play plays in children's lives and development. That's kind of like the adult's view of the child's world, of what's happening with play. But those are all labels. In our understanding, in the labels, our understanding is it's getting bigger and bigger every day, which is good, but it is still limited because, friend, we know that what's actually happening with children's play is so much deeper. It's more comprehensive than we could ever know. What's happening in their bodies, in their minds, in their hearts, in their spirits is so comprehensive. It's more than we would ever know, that we can ever know. We can put the labels on, and then we can then lobby for play. But what's happening deeper beneath the surface is so much more. In fact, I say it's cosmic. We know it's systematic. It's systems, the child's physiological systems. And we know that children are programmed for play. Right? As children are growing from one stage to another, it's like all their systems are coming online. And I don't mean online on the internet, on the World Wide Web. I mean, they're coming online for their lives. The systems, their systems. And it's automatic. I mean, that's the thing that's interesting too, like the adult's role with play and childhood and development, is that really this stuff is automatic. Kind of like a flower growing out of the ground. Right? There are systems in place. There are natural processes happening. Roots going down and seedlings coming up and leaves and flowers and stems and then all the pieces and parts. Like, it is a system. And to support a flower, we create the conditions for healthy growth. Water, sunlight, that kind of stuff. Love, singing to your flower, right? And the same goes for play. You know, it is automatic. Children are programmed to play. And our job can be setting up the conditions. You know, it's so automatic. We can't push it. We can't push play. We can't push development, just like we can't push a flower to grow faster beyond its system, what it's programmed to do. And really, we shouldn't be doing that to children either. There is a season, turn, right? Right? There's a season for each step and stage along the way. But we can set up those conditions, right? So if that's our job, is to give permission to play, maybe prioritize play. And we think a lot about process over product, but maybe play over process. Maybe it's not even process. Maybe it's just play. Our priority is play. And as we think about, having that be our priority, what we're prioritizing is really like the programming, the system of the universe. Right? Like, this is just, it's the way it happens. It's the way that children grow and develop. And they do it through play. Or, if you don't want to use the word play, they do it through being. Just being. Being alive, being curious, being drawn to experiences and activities and materials. So what if we trusted that? What if we just trusted that kind of programming of the universe? What then would be our role? Okay. Getting to my big aha moment, right? Like, what is this big aha moment? I've been thinking about play for many, many years. I started designing playground equipment in 1991. Woo! Maybe you weren't even born then. Or maybe you were somebody that was a kid then, and I was designing for you. Or maybe you're older, way older than me, and you've been doing this for far longer, which is totally awesome. Anyway, we come at this at all different stages and steps along the journey. I'm glad we're in this journey together. But anyway, I've been thinking about all this for a long time, so it is really fun to have these little moments of aha, and I get them all the time because I don't know anything, right? I'm learning all the time. I'm learning just like you, and that's fun, and that's awesome, and I hope I never stop learning. So my aha moment has to do a bit with schema. Yes, schema. And maybe, if you listened to this podcast last year, you heard the episode about schema with Heather Burnt-Santy, the great Heather Burnt-Santy, that childhood nerd. I'm not calling her that. She calls herself that, right? That's her podcast. So anyway, that was a great episode. It was. You'll hear my mind getting blown. Speaking of learning all the time and having lots of aha moments on that, and we had a lot of fun. She's a total riot. And so for me, that was good. I was learning so much about schema, and she talks about it as like that schema theory helps make sense of all the peculiar behaviors, all the weird behaviors that children have. I'm not calling them weird myself, but like stacking up, lining up Hot Wheels cars, lining them up, lining them up, lining them up, perfect, 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 perfect. Pouring water, pouring water, pouring water, pouring water. Climbing in shelves, bookshelves, clearing off the books or toys and climbing in these tight little spaces. And, we know that that's what children do. That's what kids do. They do all that stuff. And then as a designer or a supporter of play, it's kind of fun to provide all those opportunities to do all those kinds of things. And so in another way for us as adults, is we're also play advocates. We're play supporters, but we're also always advocating for play or checking those boxes for other people, parents, licensors, fellow staff members, administrators, of like, okay, no, it's actually important that little Jimmy is cleared off the books and is in the bookcase. No, that's perfectly natural. That's perfectly natural. Them pouring water for an hour straight, no, it's important. And then, of course, we say things like science and, engineering or all that kind of stuff. Math, there's math going on. There's volume, there's hydrology. And that's good. We have those words. But here's this aha moment. Let's see if I can describe this to you. Okay, so it actually happened. So I had the podcast with Heather. Go back and listen to it. And then we had the IPA USA conference. It's the International Play Association, the U.S. chapter. And we had a play conference in Louisville. And it was so great. And I hope you come to the next IPA USA conference. Stay tuned to where it's going to be held because they're great. It's a chance for all of us play people to get together and learn and grow and then play also and have fun. So, being a fan of Heather's, I went to Heather's session. And she's talking about, this stuff and schema. And also, I'm not going to go into what you talk to her, listen to her about what her session was, but she showed a picture of a child pouring sand. It was like pouring sand sitting on the ground. It was like a little sand, very small little sand table, sand bin, and they were just pouring sand through their fingers. And in the background, far in the background, there was like an adult. And then the rest is my imagination. But in this one moment, I saw the sand through the fingers, and you can imagine what that looks like and feels like. And it's like sand by sand, almost like molecules, almost like atoms, pouring through, and the child staring down, feeling it sifting through their fingers. And all of a sudden, blam, I saw in my mind that the motion of the sand and the particles of the sand pouring in their patterns together, and then that in the child's hand, up through the arm, through their eyes, into their brain, their heart, their spirit, the same sort of, suddenly the learning happening at this particular level of particles, of like the neurons, the pathways, like the sand pouring is this natural phenomena, a physical phenomena, and so is the actual learning, the things that are happening in the child, from the fingers, up the forearm, elbows to the shoulder, into the body, through the eyes, through the mind, all the senses, and then what's happening in the brain is again this patterning of growth, of connections, of pathways, and that's all happening, like that is a system. And the adult in the background, who's grown up, if they're past 25, their prefrontal cortex has been developed fully, and they're in the adult world. But suddenly, down here into this schema, into the sand table, into the child, doing this repetitive patterning, thinking and experiencing, that is happening. That is a system. And to me, what was happening with that sand and what was happening into the mind and the spirit of that child, those things were more alike. Those patterns, that system, that motion was more like the sand and the child than the adult in the background. Like the child and that sand, that schema, that was happening like on this other level, this other dimension. And the adult back there could be looking, a well-meaning adult, the teacher, the parent, could be trying to communicate with that child. And yet it is two different worlds. To me, it was like that child locked in to that sensory experience, full on, compared to the adult in the background. If the adult was speaking, it would sound like, do you remember what Charlie Brown's teacher sounded like? And that well-meaning adult could be like, hey, Barbara, what's that sand feel like? Or, wow, you're really pouring that, engaging the child and feeling like they want to have a teaching moment and be a part of it. But it was this idea that play, again, like play, being, experiencing, exploring materials and this world and the senses, that is like suddenly locked in, like children are locked in to that world. And wonderfully, they can be locked into us, our world too. And with hugs and hearts and laughs and cries and communication and all that. But just that idea that to me, now, I don't know. That was my aha moment. And I don't know. Maybe that doesn't mean anything to anybody else. But it meant something to me. And to me, it was like this idea like that play is, it's mystical. And it's like, it's physical, but it's even metaphysical, right? It's like multidimensional, like it is happening, and we are on the outside of it. We're supporting it, we're loving it, we're watching it happen. If you talk like Heather about the peculiar, and the schema answering why kids are doing peculiar things, but it's like this primal thing. It's happening also on the microscopic level. Subatomic level, but there's patterning. If we think about the patterns of the universe, the pattern of life on Earth, the patterning of veins in a leaf of a tree that also resemble veins in us, or the way our lungs look, or the way our brains work, or the way that neurons are connected and the pathways between them, like there are patterns. And I feel like the play on that level, the level that is like, I can't even explain it, this is the best I'm doing at explaining it, that it is beyond our comprehension. Like it is putting down pathways that we don't know about. I don't think research has done this kind of thing. How could you even do research on this kind of thing? But that it's laying down these patterns, the sand, the child, the arm, the mind, the brain, the heart, and it's laying on the foundation of what it's like to live on this planet. Those patterns are helping the child, that being, learn about physically the conditions of this planet. Pouring water, pouring sand. It's laying down the foundations of being alive. Buckminster Fuller, a great futurist, architect, inventor, he said, playgrounds should be renamed research laboratories. He said, children aren't playing. They're finding out how the universe works. And yes, they are. And we can say they are playing. And that's how children learn about the universe and how it works. And in one sense, they are learning. They are active learners, right? Kind of out here in the physical world, in the physical realm. They're active learners, conscious of what they're learning. But also, that learning, there's deeper things going on within their system that is unconscious. It's beneath their awareness. It's that systematic, molecular, and cosmic. I say it's cosmic. So what's happening? And again, the adult, so what is our adult role? What do we do? How do we support that? Well-meaning, if we're asking the questions. But what do we do when the meaning might not have words? Or that children don't know? What does the sand feel like? I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm discovering, what the sand feels like. And so I'm saying it's okay to sometimes not engage like that when we're supporting play. We don't have to feel like we're always engaging. We're always having language, pre-literacy stuff going on, that it's okay to leave it. Because we know that these teachable moments, we feel like we have to be the teachable moments. But what if we just provide those conditions, we provide those materials, and then as we step back, we know that we let the universe teach. The teachable moments can be from the universe. We let the elements teach. We let the materials, the textures, the sensations, we let the feeling of it teach. Right? I mean, from one adult to another, I know that I'm limited. I'm well-meaning, but I'm limited. I don't know everything that's going on. And especially when it comes to this systematic development. So it's really like so much of play we know is trust. We talk about risky play and trusting the child and knowing that they're capable and trusting them to make decisions, and we're there to support them, taking deep breaths. But so much is like the adult trusting this process. Trusting this process. And trusting the programming of the universe. Huh? Right? What if we did that? When we're stepping back and watching play with amazement, we're like, wow, I am amazed and I am trusting the programming of the universe to this built-in thing to grow this child. And I know schemas, so I can put out the right materials, and I know play, and I love outdoors, and I want children to be in nature because that is connecting them to the natural world, which also has its systems and processes and ways of being and growing. So I think that's it. Like, systems are in place. So what if our role really is just to create those conditions for it? To love it, to marvel at it, to wonder about it. I think always supporting social emotional stuff, helping kids kind of navigate, the other children and other adults. That's really important. Us doing risk-benefit analysis, us removing hazards, making things safe as necessary, and being a loving presence. Coming back to that. With our children, with the world. But I think, what if we went with that and felt it, and we're confident in that things are happening, even if we're not actively engaging or trying to teach from the outside. We know that we can trust that things are happening, growth and development. That we can secretly know that a universe of things is happening. So if we can do that, if we can know that there is a secret universe on all these different levels within the child, connected to the nature, connected to the elements, that's happening, then we can feel confident, rest assured, and we can be amazed. And then this might be the biggest role of all. We must then become the play ambassadors. We must be the play advocates. We must be the ones out in the adult world that speak the adult language to protect that space for children, to protect those spaces, to protect those activities. So that's us translating, and believing in the play, And maybe you're like me, like there are a billion things going on, and I don't even want to get into it. I just want to support it to happen. But then we have to translate that for others. Or I could say, we get to. We get to translate it. We get to support something we love by translating it to the other adults who care about, children getting ready to read, or getting ready for school, or getting their homework done, or, being safe, or wanting to learn math, or wanting to learn, why is play important? Well, we can talk the talk, right? We can summarize the benefits. We can categorize the activities. We can check the boxes. We can promote the learning. But we can also know that things are happening deeper than that. And so I will just want to reassure you, when you support play, and however you do it, you are doing the right thing. And I know sometimes it can be lonely. If you're supporting play and others you feel like they have other priorities, parents, administrators, teachers, licensing, and that kind of stuff, that can feel lonely. But I will say, you are doing the right thing by supporting play, and you are not alone. You are not alone. We are in this together. We're doing it together. We are believers in play. And I want us to stay connected. I'm wrapping it up here. But I want to wrap it up with the idea like we are together. And I need you. Yes. I need to feel like I'm part of this movement of supporting play and believing in play. And I want to grow with you and learn with you and share with you ideas and aha moments, and bring in through this podcast other people that can give us aha moments and share their belief and support in play and nature and the nature of play and all that stuff. And growing together as a community. This year I'm cooking up something. I'm going to form a community, and I would love for you to be a part of it. So I'll be talking more about this, and I'll let you know. But I feel it's important. Important for play in this day and age with play. Important as we grow, no matter where we're at, supporting play and believing in play or feeling confident. If we're just beginning, if you're doing it, but you still have questions, or if you're going full power, best practice, and you still love learning every minute, every stage. And also it's good and important to form community in this wobbly time of ours, internationally, domestically, all that. If we can know that we are connected, our hearts are connected, our belief in play is connected, our connections to nature are connected. We can all love trees, and we are connected. We can all love water. We can all love ice. We are connected. We love play. We're connected. So, all right. There it was, my aha. Did it make any sense? Did that ring any bells? Are you with me? Hey, email me. Let me know. All right. Till next time, thanks for listening. All right. Thanks for listening. Do you have a comment or a question? Email me at playnaturepodcast@gmail.com. You know I like talking about this stuff. And maybe we could use your question on a future podcast episode. As always, I have some free goodies for you in the show notes, including my outdoor loose parts guide. Fun stuff in there. And so I wish you the best in your outdoor play adventures. And when it comes to adding nature to your yard, or loose parts, or saying yes to risky play, my favorite motto is dream big, Start small and never stop. Oh yeah. Woo, 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 woo. Let's do it. All right. Have fun out there.